Owning a boat comes with a number of perks, like being able to say ahoy or land ho and not feel weird about it. So here's another perk. Geico's boat insurance offers access to the largest towing fleet on the water. And with specialist support from agents that are as passionate about boating as you are, there's so much value that you'll want to say, shiver me timbers, and not feel weird about that either. Get more with Geico.
This is episode 366 of Wheel Bearings, and I am Sam McWall-Sandwich from Guidehouse Insights.
I am Nicole Wakeland from Carbuzz.
And I am Roberto Baldwin from SAE International.
And now, as of now, if you listen to one episode of Wheel Bearings every day, we've got enough for a full leap year.
Oh, we do. 366. You're right.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you wouldn't have to skip a day.
You wouldn't even have to skip a day.
No.
Like you have family over and they're like, "Hey, we want you to." I'm like, "Nah, I got something to do."
I got the Wheel Bearings. Sorry, guys. I'm out.
We got a very
Well, no, it depends on your family. I mean,
a plausible excuse to get out of family time.
Yeah, that's right. You might just want to listen to us instead of your family.
Man, holidays are coming up.
You never know.
Holidays.
All right. Nicole, what are you driving?
I am driving the Volvo C40 Recharge Single Motor Ultimate, which is too many words again for a car. Let's start right.
Can it really be an Ultimate if it only has one motor?
And
well, it's the ultimate one motor. It's the one motor ultimate. So you can have the two motor ultimate.
It's an ultimate two motor,
which is even more ultimate than the one motor.
Ultimate. Yeah.
It's ultimate. Ultimate.
Ultimate. So the single motor is actually they didn't have the single motor in this originally. It was just the dual motor for the C40. So they added that, which is kind of a big deal. But you get less. Just lost my train of thought here. So you have not the same power though. If you get the single motor, you've got 248 horsepower. Dual motor is 402. There's a significant difference between these two. Significant. Torque, same thing. Single motor 310, dual motor 494. And your 0 to 60 time, 6.9 versus 4.5. So there's a big power difference between these. And when I looked at this on paper, my first thought was, well, this is going to be the boring one, like really lackluster. But the thing with EVs, and it really is increasingly true, because that torque is available, so like boom, it's there. It's not like a gas car while you're waiting for it to sort of spool up.
Can we say whoop, there it is?
Whoop, there it is.
When we talk about torque?
Whoop, there it is.
There it is.
So when you hit the pedal with this, it moves. Like you don't think to yourself, oh, this is the low power version. This is the modest version. It really goes. I was trying to get out of the city in really congested traffic, and I was doing the sort of like not weaving in and out of traffic, but you're trying to get by the slow guy and then back past the other guy. It really goes. It was actually really fun to drive this. I didn't think it was going to be that fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I feel like if you're enjoying driving a car out of Boston in rush hour traffic, then whoever made the car did something right. So I really enjoyed my time with this. And in terms of range, you get up to 297 miles is what they say the single motor is. Dual motor goes down to 257. That's, I think, where kind of this might sort of fall short is on the range. Now, it's technically just the tiniest bit under 300, but other folks are getting over that 300 mark. I'm not that worried about it because realistically, most of us aren't driving 297 miles in an average day. That's road trip territory, and you don't do a road trip every day. So I think some of the range anxiety that people have in this sort of over focus on how far a vehicle will go, unless you do a lot of road trips and you're really worrying about, well, how often do we have to stop on that 15-hour trip? It's not really going to matter because you're probably going to have a charger installed at home, and you should if you have an EV, and you can just charge at home overnight. And the number of chargers that are out there for the public, it's growing. It's still not what it should be. They don't all work. There's a lot of problems, but there are more. You see them more often. So I think that range anxiety and / charger anxiety is something that we kind of let go of a little bit. Charging time on this, it is 28 minutes for 20 minutes or 34 minutes. So you're looking at about a half an hour, which is, again, not as fast as some other guys. So that's where this kind of falls short a little bit. The charging, it doesn't charge as quickly, and you don't have the range that some do. And I was thinking, comparing this for the story to other Volvos and like compared to the EX30. And it was funny. I was like, well, which one would you buy? I'm like, well, I can't buy the EX30. Like, you can't. Who knows when that's coming out? Like, I get that
sometime next year.
Sometime next year. It was exactly 1 year ago that we did the first drive for that. It was October. So like within people were doing the first drive for that in Spain last year, and we still don't have it. That's sad.
Well, I mean, the reason for that, is it was actually supposed to be on sale by now.
Right.
But currently it's only being built in China. Mm-hmm. And when they announced the 100% tariff on Chinese built EVs, that made it there was no way that they could pass that along. This is a $37,000 car.
Right.
You could not, the EX30 is a really nice car.
Yeah.
But you could not get away with selling that thing for $70,000.
No, you couldn't. And that really is the problem. Like this one, the C40 Recharge is in the Ultimate, which is the top trim, because it's Core Preferred and Ultimate.
I would hope
the
so.
top, yeah. The Ultimate, I'm like, wait a minute. The Ultimate, it is $59,995. So when to your point, Sam, that would have started like over $60,000 for the EX30 in its base form. That's not going to work when you can get this like fully loaded for 60. So
next year they will start building the EX30 in Belgium, in the same plant where they build the C40 and the XC40 now in Ghent, Belgium.
So that will change, and then we'll be able to get it. Guesses on destination for this, gentlemen?
Oh, $11.95.
$9.95.
Wow, Robbie, on the money, $11.95.
Yeah, I closed my eyes for that one.
Good job. See, you put on a shirt. He was recording a video, guys, so he's in like a business shirt. He's
look, I'm businessman today.
Businessman, Robbie. And suddenly you're like, I know things. Like, I know how much destination is on a Volvo C40 Recharge. So
clothes make the man.
Clothes make the man. So I like this car. I mean, it's very typically Volvo in a lot of ways. Volvo has that very minimalist interior, but I like what they did with this. They have this wool blend that they use because it uses recycled fibers. I want to say it's like plastic from bottles and stuff. They're very focused on sustainable interiors. And there's even for their leathers, it's that Nordico, which has pine resin from forest of Finland or something like. So they're doing all these things to make sure that their interiors are sustainable and they're not cutting down forest for wood and, using real leather from animals. And so they're doing a lot of that stuff. And I appreciate that they do the things they do, but it still looks good. Like sometimes you see sustainable interiors and different materials that various OEMs have used. You're like, well, that's ugly as sin. Like, can we come up with something else? Or it just has the look of something like, that's such a pretty thing. How's that going to deal with the first time it get drenched when I open my window to grab my Starbucks and it's pouring rain? They just don't look like they're going to hold up. This looks good, but it also looks like it's going to be durable. It's going to hold up. So I appreciate that. Overall, it was good to drive. I enjoyed driving this. It's a little bit small. Like it's 2 rows, seating for 5, but I feel like the back seat is really a 2-person back seat. You put 3 back there, you're going to have a decent amount of leg room. Surprisingly, it's got the leg room. It's probably got enough headroom unless you're Robbie, but width-wise, it's just not wide enough really for 3 adults to sit without being like shoulder to shoulder. So then it's going to get to be a little bit tight.
Unless they're very skinny adults.
I feel like average width adults are going to have some trouble. And I'm trying to find the color. I'm so upset the color's not on here. It is such a light blue. It's like the color of Robbie's shirt, actually. Take a screenshot.
The color of my shirt.
Robbie is wearing the blue that was my Volvo this week. It's such a light blue that you almost look at it for a second and you think it's like some funky white, but it's this really, really light blue. Super pretty. I love this color. It's like
it's cloud blue.
Cloud blue. Robbie, your shirt is like a cloud today.
It's like a cloud.
It's like a cloud. So I really like this cloud blue. It wasn't because you truly think for half a second when you look at it, you think, is that what color is that? Is that white? Is there actual color there? So it's a really pretty color. So I like the Volvo C40 Recharge. If the EX30 was around, I'd probably like that better. But if you need a vehicle now, you can't wait until next year and for production to start on the EX30. I think the C40 Recharge is an acceptable substitute.
And soon it will have a new name as well.
This will be the EX40, right?
This will be the EC40.
EC40, sorry.
The XC40 because this is the coupe, so this has the slanted rear roof,
Right.
and the XC40 Recharge will become the EX40.
Ugh.
It's
The name
so
changes.
hard.
They get me, man. I get confused.
Yeah.
It's like how the Rivians are like the numbers keep going up, but the cars keep getting smaller. Like,
You just
wait,
really
which one is this?
you.
The R2 is going to be then the R3 is going to be tinier than the 2.
Well, at least in this case, the numbers do correspond to the size. So the EX30 is actually smaller than the EX40.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So this
we got that going for you.
Did you say this one's going to be the EC40?
This will be the EC40 for electric coupe.
And the XC40 is going to be the EX40.
Right.
Okay.
And then we already have the EX90 and the EX60s coming, and presumably some others as well.
Some other somethings, ECs and EXs with various numbers after them.
But we won't see is all of the at least partially internally combusted cars and Volvo vehicles going away just yet.
Yes, they had said they would. They said that they were going to be kicked to the curb like a week ago, and then like, wait.
Change their minds.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens in a couple of years, and they're like, "Oh, well, now people are buying them." Hold on, everybody, we're really gonna be.
They're just going to keep shifting.
Well, now you don't have to. You don't have to make it. You don't have to make the promise. You just kind of do it whenever you do it.
Right. Whenever it happens, you're like, "Hey guys, it's here." So I always thought that everybody promising was a little bit of a risky thing. Like we are going to do. They're all gone, and we're just going to be EV.
Was it risky though? Because they just said no.
Yeah.
Right. But in terms of like if setting up this expectation, the whole world, like we're not. And everybody, I think everybody said, "Really? Are you sure it's going to happen?"
I think it was like a certain electric automaker. I think it was a play for the stocks because Tesla's stocks kept going up and up because they were the EV, and so EV was like the sexy thing. So if everyone said, "Oh, we're going to be EV too," maybe we'll get a stock bump.
Didn't work.
Nope. All right, Robbie, what about you?
I didn't drive nothing.
Nothing.
I've been sick, and you can hear in my voice that I'm actually still sick. And I am so behind on work because of that I have not called in any cars, and I won't have next week. I think next week I'm going somewhere and riding motorcycles. I don't know. If I'm allowed to do that.
Oh, well, you can talk about that.
Yeah, I can talk about that. And then after that, I'll start calling in some cars again. I'll feel better then.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't like calling if I know I'm going to be doing a lot of traveling. I don't even bother the fleet people. I'm like, oh no.
All right. Well, I like Nicole a couple of weeks ago had the 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe, the Mini Flex.
We had the same. Now this back
Mini
to back.
Flex.
Yeah.
And I think it was even. Oh no, you had a white one, right?
Mine was it white?
I think so. I think you said you had a
Maybe
white one.
it was white. I think it was. I'm going to double check now, but go ahead.
Well, I had the earthy brass matte.
Ooh, that's the cool.
Which is the cool color. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
This is, not quite brown, but like brass bronze color. More.
It's very Santa Fe. Color. It's very Santa Fe. You throw some turquoise on there, boom, you're ready.
Mine was white. You're right. I just had to double check and look at the story I wrote. I'm like, what color was the picture? White.
So it was a matte finish. They call it brass. I think it's more bronze color because it's darker. Brass, you see brass instruments, they're usually bright gold color. This is not that. This is definitely a bronzer color.
Like anyway, a brass tack. This is more brass tack versus brass instruments.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the same like the one you had, otherwise 2.5 turbo, all-wheel drive, calligraphy, pretty much loaded up with all the goodies. It had, heads-up display and all the highway driving assist and all the other cool stuff on there. The 21-inch calligraphy exclusive alloy wheels, LED headlights, and lots and lots and lots and lots of H's everywhere.
Hyundai loves their H's. Everything's an H.
It's like a Sesame Street episode. This car brought to you by the letter H.
Yeah.
Here's an H. Here's an H. You just look at the car, you're like, oh, this is an H.
H is in the lights, H is in the vents, H is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
H is the front fascia is an H.
Yeah, everywhere.
Everything is an H, and then you start seeing H's where there aren't H's because everything's an H now.
Yeah. So I like this. It's bigger than what we've had for the Santa Fe in the previous generation because it's a 3-row now. I got back in the 3rd row. I was actually able to sit back there. I would not say I could sit back there comfortably. I had sufficient leg room, but the seat was kind of low to the ground, so my knees were up, kind of like at shoulder height.
A little bit awkward, just a little bit.
But a pair of adults could sit back there certainly for shorter trips, and they're not going to be too crazy uncomfortable. I said, this had all the goodies on there. You had the 12.3 inch digital instrument cluster, the 12.3 inch infotainment screen. It has the same center console control panel that Hyundai is putting into a bunch of their other stuff, like what they put into the new Tucson, into the refreshed Tucson, and also the refreshed Santa Cruz, which means that unlike the Tucson and Santa Cruz current generation when they launched a couple of years ago, it's not a whole bunch of touch surfaces. There's actually buttons and knobs and stuff, which is really good. It's much, much, much improved. The 2.5 turbo, even with 277 horsepower, didn't feel especially strong in this thing. It was fine, but it was not. It didn't feel as powerful as I kind of expected to, especially with 311 foot-pounds of torque. I expected it to feel a little more aggressive than it did. And it might just be the weight. This thing obviously is heavier than a Tucson. But here, let me see how much it actually weighs. Curb weight, it's only 4,486 pounds. So, it's just shy of 4,500 pounds, which, is not a lightweight, but 277 horsepower. I would have thought it would feel a little bit stronger than this. The transmission is the 8-speed DCT, and I think that actually played a part in this. A lot of DC, like when I've driven the DCTs and a lot of other Hyundai vehicles, like especially the Veloster N and the Elantra N, which has the same 8-speed DCT, they would get off the line a lot quicker than this. But in this one, it felt more like what I felt previously in some of the Volkswagen DSG transmissions, where it just felt a little sluggish off the line. And where this really manifested, when I was driving out to, I picked it up from the airport when I got home from a trip, and it was like 90 degrees out and 90% humidity. And my wife was out. And so I decided to grab Morty and throw my paddleboard in the back of the Santa Fe. And we went out to the lake to go paddle around for a while. And when I was at an intersection waiting to make a left-hand turn, and the road I was turning onto had a 50 mile per hour speed limit. So everybody was going like 60, 65. So when you decide to make the left turn there, and going slightly uphill, you want it to be fairly responsive so you can get into a gap, and it didn't feel like it had the oomph that I would have expected from that much power. But other than that, everything else about this thing was quite pleasant. The ride quality was good. It was roomy. The second row seat was very roomy, as what first row was good. Everything else about it, I generally really liked. So if you're looking for a mid-size 3-row, so something smaller than say a Highlander, or Toyota Grand Highlander, or an Explorer, or certainly a Palisade, that is still reasonably sized, easier to park in the city. This would be a really good option for people to consider. I also, when I was out in California for the Tucson drive, they had the new hybrid version out there as well, and that one combined has, I think it's 231 horsepower combined and 271 pound-feet of torque. That one actually felt quicker than this, even though it's a little bit heavier. It's about 100 pounds heavier.
It's that EV whoop. There it is.
It's
Torque.
exactly that.
Yep.
Whoop! There it is.
Whoop, there it is.
So that 60 horsepower from the electric motor and that instant torque from the electric motor made a big difference to it. So the hybrid Santa Fe's should be arriving in dealers about now, and this one, I think though if I was going to buy a Santa Fe, I don't know that I would buy the calligraphy trim. I'd probably go for one of the more affordable options, because this one was kind of pricey. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was considerably more expensive than the last Palisade that I drove. All in, this was $50,905.
It's not cheap.
Maybe just get the SEL version and be done with it.
Yeah. So you want to take guesses on the delivery charge?
$12.95.
$8.95.
Nicole's got it. It was $13.95.
Oh, I was trying to go like, hey, maybe they're, maybe
I err on the side of everyone charges too much anymore.
Yeah, I know. That's the problem. Is I need to err on the side of everyone charges too much.
One other thing about this, my wife noticed the little panel on the C-pillar. She said, "What is that for?" She was trying to figure out what this little rectangle on the C-pillar was for. And so I showed her, look, you can push it in with your hand and you have a handle to grab. And then you can step up in the door opening to reach stuff on the roof. I said, wow, that's really dumb.
Smart woman.
She was not impressed by that, but she did like the UVC sanitizer. So she sanitized her phone.
Okay. All right.
Oh.
She asked what that was, and so I told her it's a UVC sanitizer. So she popped her phone in there, closed the door, showed her where the button was, and 10 minutes later it was done. It was
Boom,
her
phone is ready.
Phone was all sanitized.
Done and done.
Yeah. So that's the 2024 Santa Fe Calligraphy 2.5T all-wheel drive. Oh, and fuel economy. It's rated at 23 combined, 20 city, 28 highway. I saw just about 22 in my driving, which was kind of mixed. So it's it's in the ballpark, which again, not spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
I think the hybrid does considerably better. The hybrid will get up into the 30s. So it's not great fuel economy. And given the rather modest performance feeling of this thing, I would recommend probably going with the hybrid instead.
Yeah.
Or the hybrid SEL or something like that.
Yeah.
Can you get those right now? Are the hybrids out now? They weren't.
They should be soon. They're arriving in the country. They had them there for the drive, and they should be hitting dealerships pretty soon, I think.
Okay.
So that is that.
Santa Fe with its useless little door handle thing.
Yeah. Smartphones have gotten way more expensive over the past decade, and all it takes is one impact on a hard floor to make you wish you had spent a few bucks to put a case on it. Going online without ExpressVPN is like not having a case for your phone, and it only costs a few dollars a month. Nicole, Robbie, and I travel a lot for our work, and we spend a lot of time in hotels, coffee shops, airplanes, and of course the Delta Sky Club. Connecting to the Wi-Fi in any public places with shared Wi-Fi puts your data at risk because bad actors could be intercepting what you send and using it to steal from you. It only takes some cheap hardware to intercept Wi-Fi data, and even a smart preteen can do it. Hackers can make up to $1,000 per victim selling personal information on the dark web. ExpressVPN stops the bad guys by creating a secure, encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet. ExpressVPN uses state-of-the-art encryption that would take a supercomputer up to 1 billion years to crack. I have ExpressVPN on all my devices, including a MacBook Pro, Windows laptops and desktops, and Android and iOS phones and laptops, or tablets. When I want to be secure, I just launch the app, click once to connect, and my data is secure. As I said, I travel a lot for my work, and I have to connect to countless public Wi-Fi networks in many countries. I have ExpressVPN on all my connected devices so that whoever else is on the same network can't see any of my data. That's important because I often have to check banks, credit card accounts, and transmit client data that might be sensitive, as well as filing articles on news that might be under embargo. ExpressVPN protects all of it, and I've been paying for my own account for years. Secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/wheelbearings. That's expressvpn.com/wheelbearings, and you can get an extra 4 months for free. expressvpn.com/wheelbearings.
All you homeowners have unique needs. Some feel the need to leave up holiday decorations year-round. Others have the need to use their garage as practice space for their new metal band. And because each homeowner has unique needs, Geico helps you get the right coverage for your home and what's in it. That way, you get exactly what's right for you, even if your needs are unique. Get more with Geico.
Did you know you can support Wheel Bearings directly? Head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia and you can become a patron today. Your contributions will help fund the platforms and tools we use to bring the podcast to you. And exclusives and improvements are already on the way thanks to your generosity. So if you want to be part of an automotive podcast like no other, head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia. We've updated the Wheel Bearings merch store, and now there's a whole bunch of new choices, new colors, new styles, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, hats, mugs, travel mugs, stickers, aprons, tote bags, you name it. You can get your Wheel Bearings merch at shop.wheelbearings.media. Go check it out. That's shop.wheelbearings.media. All right. How about the 2025 Nissan Armada?
I like how it looks.
Armada.
Armada.
Where is it?
It needed it because it was looking.
It was a little old.
It was looking
like,
so old.
Yeah, the previous generation debuted in 2010 as the Patrol.
Was it really? I didn't realize it was that long ago. Is that long?
It only came to the U.S. They had the first generation Armada went away, and I think it was 2014 or 15, and then the one that's going away now launched in 2017 as an Armada, as a replacement for because the original one was based on the Titan, the first generation Titan, and so then they dropped that and replaced it with a rebadged Nissan Patrol. And that generation of Patrol had already been on sale overseas since 2010 and had been around for a few years here as the Infiniti QX80. So, it was time for a refresh, a complete
Long
refresh.
in the tooth is what the kids say.
Yeah. And so this one definitely looks better. The big gas guzzling V8's gone, replaced by what will probably be an almost as gas guzzling twin turbo V6.
But it'll weigh less.
Maybe
you got that going for you.
We'll see. Maybe.
Yeah, they're putting more features in it. So probably is 12 pounds less.
I don't know. I just made that up.
They haven't published the full specs for it, so we don't know. But my guess is it'll probably be heavier. It's about the same size as the old Armada. Size wasn't the old Armada's problem. Just the interior looked really dated.
I thought the interior and the exterior too. It had this. Every time I saw one, it made me think of like an old truck. The way the grill looked up, it was like a big old truck, like something like your
grandpa truck.
Yeah, like it's something your buddy was using to take stuff to the dump for you because you didn't have a truck and somebody needed a truck. That's what the old Armada looked like. And now, actually, like, oh hey, look, modern SUV. Woo!
Yeah. So the new one, it's got got the floating roof look that Nissan's been doing on a lot of their stuff. It's a boxier looking truck or SUV than most of its domestic competitors. It's got a more upright kind of. It's funny. It's only a couple of inches shorter than a Tahoe, but it looks a lot stubbier. There's
does.
something about the proportions of it.
Something about how the squared off, however they've squared things off. There's nothing soft about it, but I actually like it. I think it looks really good.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a big improvement over the old one, and it's got the 3 slots at the top of the grill, just like the Pathfinder.
Mm-hmm.
It also kind of looks like the Ford
Expedition.
No,
Explorer.
the one we were talking about the
Flex?
Santa
Bronco.
Fe. Flex.
Oh, the Flex.
Like we'll just rattle off everything.
Yeah,
Everything kind of looks like the Flex now.
Yeah.
If you look at the back, you're like, oh, you just throw
a lot taller than a Flex, though.
Yeah, that's true. Bring back the Flex, you cowards.
Well, you never know. Now that Hyundai's done it, maybe they will.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll copy Hyundai.
No, the Hyundai's brought back the Flex. Maybe Ford will do it.
Yeah. But the new interior is definitely a big step up from the old one. Yet,
it looks so much better. And that was really the thing. It was everything about this car looked so old before. It looked so dated. The pictures that you in this story, it looks fantastic. And that's going to make a lot of people who wouldn't have considered it go, okay, it's no longer like looks like it's 10 years old inside. It looks like a now vehicle. That's huge.
Yeah, that looks nice.
Yeah, so 12.3 inch instrument cluster display, 14.3 inch touchscreen, and it gets the same Android Automotive infotainment system that debuted on the Rogue, the refreshed Rogue, like late last year. So, and they now have a Pro 4X version for the first time,
which is a good thing. I think that's neat. People love all those off-roady versions of things, even if they don't ever use them to do off-road stuff. Still, it could if you wanted it to. That's what the important part is, right?
It's all theoretical.
The breakover's 25.3 degrees, guys.
Woohoo!
Yeah, there's 34 inch, almost 34 degree approach angle on the Pro 4X.
It's going to be so awesome.
And it's got skid plates and everything.
See, they're not messing around. I love it.
Right over the flower bed at the Costco. Right over
it. All right. Any other thoughts on the Armada?
No, I'm happy about it. I'm anxious to see it in person. I have not seen it for realsies yet, so we can see it.
So 2025 Hyundai Tucson. I mentioned this earlier. Did you get to drive it, Nicole? Did you go?
No, I didn't. Somebody else. I think Jared went. I did not drive the Tucson just yet.
Okay, so they showed this at the New York Auto Show back in April, March, whenever that was. So it's got new front fascia, looks a little more rugged, a little tougher looking than before.
Mm-hmm.
But the big change is the dashboard and the interior. The dashboard's all new, and like I said before, when they launched the current Tucson a couple of years ago, the biggest problem it had was that center stack that was all touch surfaces, so there was no buttons or anything on there.
Yeah,
it was bad.
I'm happy Hyundai's like, you know what, we're gonna put more buttons back, and then they did.
Yeah,
so
they're listening to their customers.
Yeah.
Well, the going back is like, we're going to move everybody forward. This is where you should be. Wait, everybody hates forward. Let's go backward now. Thank you. Thank you for hearing us.
No, it's good. It's good when a company listens to their customos.
Yeah.
Have you driven this, Sam? Did either of you drive it?
Yeah. I was out there. I drove it. We were out in Los Olivos near Santa Barbara, and the drive route was actually pretty interesting. It was a lot twistier and tighter drive route than I would have expected for a car like this. And it actually did surprisingly well.
Yeah.
It did all right. Yeah. The steering felt good. The handling was good. We drove the hybrid mostly, and also the 2.5 turbo. But the hybrid was great on this drive route. I was really impressed with it. I would absolutely recommend it. If you're looking for something in this segment that is a little different from the CRVs and RAV4s of the world, this is definitely one that fits into that market. And like I said, with that new dashboard, the new center stack, it is so much easier to use. They added some additional features to it as well. One thing that I was kind of surprised at actually is they have an in-cabin radar sensor, which is actually not. There's a bunch of cars coming out this year that have that. So like the Volvo EX90 has in-cabin radar. There's a couple of others that are coming out this year that have in-cabin radar to detect if you've left somebody behind, left a child behind, or left a dog behind in the car. It'll detect and alert you. And in the case of the Tucson, it won't let the doors lock if it detects that there's somebody in there. So there's a
cool.
millimeter wave radar sensor mounted above the second row, so it can detect the second and third row seats, and it can pick up like 1 millimeter of movement, which is enough to detect breathing from an infant, even if they're covered by a blanket.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
And what I hadn't realized until a couple of weeks ago was that this is actually not the first time that Hyundai's done this. They actually introduced this on the GV70 when they launched the GV70 back in 2021. It's had it all along, and they're expanding it this year to a bunch of other models.
That's good.
And even the Santa Fe also has this, something I hadn't realized before. So they're putting it on a bunch of Genesis, Hyundai, and Kia models this year.
That's cool.
So that is a good thing. And there's others coming that are still under embargo. We'll talk about one of those next week. But I think this is something we're going to see starting to become, I think, fairly universal over the next year or two, with most automakers, most new vehicles as they get redesigned. I was actually just at Magna this afternoon for their tech day, and they were demoing their own in-cabin radar sensor as well. So good to see manufacturers doing stuff like this. And if what they should be doing as well, in addition to giving alerts and stuff like that, is, especially if it's an EV, just automatically turn on the air conditioning if you detect that.
Isn't there a car that does that? Why did I think there was some vehicle that actually
dog mode?
Yeah, Tesla's got their dog mode, but
Maybe
you
that's
have
what I'm
to
thinking of.
you have to turn it on manually.
Okay.
But they're for if you've got an EV, if you've got the radar sensor in there and it detects that somebody or some animal is in there, just turn it on automatically. Especially if the cabin temperature is above a certain threshold, just turn on the AC if there's somebody in there.
Yeah, I leave it. I just came back from a video shoot and it's hot outside, so I just left my car on because it's an EV. And then when I got in the car, it's nice and cool.
Perfect.
Yay. I was only shooting for like 15, 20 minutes. Wasn't out there for like hours.
Still, it's hot. So.
Like hours, like out there. Just let it run. Like, you just turn it on. Like you can see the car. Turn it on like 5 minutes before you get in. No,
can't do that. That's crazy talk.
All right. Do you remember back in January after CES when I talked about getting a demo in the VW ID.7 of their Volkswagen's ChatGPT integration? Oh
yeah, I did that too.
Yeah. And when they, at the time they said, yeah, we're launching this in Europe in like April or May. And they launched it in Europe on a bunch of models over there. Well, now it's coming to the US as well. So now when you ask your Volkswagen ID.4 certain types of questions, or ask it to do certain things, it might end up sending your request to ChatGPT.
So then will it tell you that it's doing that? Will it say that,
No.
that you won't know where your response is really coming from?
Right. It just does it in the background.
Okay. Is that going to change anything? Just it's going to have more information?
What it'll do, like it'll have the ability to answer some kinds of questions that the built-in voice recognition can't do.
Okay.
Like when they did the demo in January at CES, they said, "Tell me a story about a dinosaur," asking it other things. The other thing
Things you do all the time when you're driving, by
of
the way.
course, I mean, I always ask my car to tell me stories.
Me too. I like
tell me a story about dinosaurs
all the time.
Yeah.
Denver, the last dinosaur, the dinosaurs with the baby from the 80s or 90s, all the dinosaur stories. Please tell them. The Transformers dinosaurs.
That's the first thing I'm going to do now when I'm in a car with ChatGPT. I'm going to ask it. I'm going to record it and see what it tells me.
Tell me your dinosaur tales.
Yes, exactly.
The other thing that I think was actually more interesting was that they're using it to translate certain requests. So the built-in voice recognition will recognize certain commands. And if you say it the right way, it'll recognize those. And it's much better than it used to be. It'll recognize a lot of stuff. But if you ask it to do something in a way that it doesn't quite understand the syntax, then what it'll do is it'll send your request to ChatGPT, which will then try to translate it into syntax that the car understands and send that back.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So the demo, when they did the demo, and I'll post the video in the show notes. When we did the demo, she said, I'm in the mood for Italian, and so the navigation pulled up a list of Italian restaurants nearby, and then she said, okay, I'm in the mood for pasta, and so it sent that to ChatGPT, which then translated that to pull up a list of Italian restaurants.
Okay, so that's cool. So it gets rid of that having to come up with quite so much the exact phrasing to say it in a way
more natural language.
Natural language. Oh, okay. Now I'm in. Because I hear when I ask a car to do something, it's like, I'm sorry, I can't understand. It's like, you keep trying to rephrase it until it makes sense.
But if you ask it what is 2 + 2, it may well still tell you it's 5. So who knows?
That's all. There's risks.
There's risks. Don't do your taxes.
Don't have it do your taxes.
Yeah.
Like stop there.
But you only get it for a year. You get it for 3 years with your ID4, ID Buzz, but you only get it for a year with the GTI, Golf R, and Tiguan.
What? Why? I wonder. Why would you?
The Jetta GLI and Tesla have the option to purchase with AI subscription. That's weird.
Curious.
I would just say no.
Probably got to pay extra for it.
Yeah. So you get it for a year if you get a Golf R, but you get it for 3 years with the ID4. You get it for 0 years with a Jetta.
Tech with you, Jetta people.
Yeah. Well, the Jetta's pretty. It's a pretty inexpensive vehicle in their lineup, I guess. I don't know.
All right. So, what do you think is? Let's see. What do you think is the most popular car for Gen Z drivers?
Gen Z drivers.
I already looked at the list. I don't remember.
I only remember that one car we talked about. Camry.
Oh, close.
Nope.
Oh, all right. Now I'm going to look.
Wait a minute.
Hold on. Where's I got to find it?
I'm looking at the infographic now, and it's not the car I don't see the car we were talking about for Gen Z.
The car we're talking about is at the bottom. This is scaled 1 to 10.
Yeah.
So the one we don't like, that we round, is number 8 for Gen Z.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
The car for Gen Z. It's 7 for millennials, and it's 10th for Gen X. That car would be, gentlemen?
Oh, the Chevy Malibu?
The Chevy Malibu. Yep.
Oh.
Wait, which we were like, what? Really? Why? That's somehow that we were all surprised. I don't think any of us, sorry, Chevy, but I don't think any of us are big Malibu fans. We're like, why are they buying that? It was really funny when we saw it. So that's why we all knew that was on the list. The only ones who are not buying the Malibu at all are the boomers. The boomers are like, we're too smart for that. We've been around the block. We're not
they only buy, they're only buying the Honda. Yeah. Why? Well, yeah. Good job, boomers.
So actually the most popular for Gen Z is the Honda Civic.
Yeah.
Followed by the Accord, the Camry, Altima, Corolla. I'm surprised. I'm actually very pleasantly surprised at this Gen Z list because all 10 of these are actually cars, not crossovers, not pickup trucks.
The thing is, though, remember Gen Z is also the youngest, so they don't generally speaking, have they're less likely to have families. They're less likely to have houses and stuff they need to. They
Man,
don't need
everyone I
much.
know with Gen X, when we were young, they started buying SUVs as soon as it started getting pushed. Like
See,
people are like, I
always
have to
thought-
have an SUV, and I'm
I
like, what
thought
are you
Sam.
talking about?
I didn't buy an SUV until I had kids. So, because then the stinking kids needed more room, and I had to say goodbye to
Boo!
stupid kids.
Stupid kids.
Well, if you wipe them off once in a while, they wouldn't be so stinky.
That's true.
Is that how that was? Oh, stuff I could have used a few years ago, Sam.
So what is this? Where is this? It's Insurify, but where are they getting their information?
Did it say where this list?
It's not entirely clear how they came up with this.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's sort of a secret.
I'm reading real fast. It doesn't tell
Like we
me.
called a guy named Fred, and he told us.
The data science team at Insurify ranked each generation's most owned car brand model nationally by state based on more than 4.5 million car insurance applications from Insurify's database over the past 12 months. So it's who's insuring their car.
Through Insurify?
Mm-hmm.
Or who's at least getting a quote through Insurify.
Who's getting a quote.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I've heard of Insurify like once before, and it was also for like one
I've
of
heard
these.
of them before. So,
But I've never like, hey, I need some insurance. I'm going to go with Insurify. I feel like I don't trust somebody named Insurify to pay me the money when my car gets break.
it sounds sketchy.
Well, I think Insurify is actually a broker, or one of these sites where you can do comparison shopping for insurance.
I just looked and it has like all of them, like Allstate, Progressive, Farmers, Travelers, Geico. It lists all of them. So I think it's a broker that's looking and seeing who's going to give you the best rate.
But then you wonder, like, how many people, Boomer and Gen X, are actually looking for using Insurify for their insurance? Because we all remember you just call.
I just call and come.
Like I feel like maybe the Millennial and Gen Z would be more likely to be correct, versus Boomer and Gen X. They're just like, well, these are the people who used it. All 7 of them. We got 7 people using Insurify, and
there had to be at least 10 because they've got 10 vehicles on their list.
That's true.
At least 10 people have done it.
Like, what else would you get? Would you get it? Would you get a CRV? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So for Boomers and Gen X, it's the F-Series pickups, followed by the Camry, and then you get the usual mix of Corolla, Accord, Altima, Silverado. Silverado, interesting, is in 5th for both of those.
Yeah, and so
That was the Altima number 4 for Gen X. That doesn't make any sense at all to me.
I think all of these cars, or most of these cars, you can actually get some really good deals on them.
Maybe
probably
some good lease deals.
Probably can. Corolla, the Elantra.
You could probably get a Malibu for like $30.
Yeah.
Please take them out.
You show up to a dealer. You show up to a dealership. You're like, I'll take that off your hands. They'll probably give you a pizza.
And the insurance. Yeah, that's the other thing. The insurance is probably a lot cheaper on these compared to a lot of other cars. It's certainly going to be cheaper than, insuring an F-150.
And when you think about it, these are people who are really shopping for their insurance, right? I mean, everybody does. But if you're going to something like Insurify, you're probably really trying to get a whole bunch of quotes from a whole bunch of places, really trying to get the best deals. So you're probably really financially conscious, really budget conscious. So you're not going to, although there's F-150s on here, those aren't going to be exactly the cheapest vehicles to insure, are they?
There's probably people who work places who are looking up insurance, so looking up fleets. Plus, if you have a business, you're going to get an F-150 because you get that sweet tax credit for buying a really heavy vehicle if you own a business. So, which is weird. So you're probably like, oh man, I gotta insure these 5 Ford F-150s. What should I use? Oh, I can use this thing my kid told me about called Insurify.
If you had to buy one of the cars in this list,
my Civic owning kid told me to use Insurify.
If you're going to buy one of these Gen X cars, gentlemen, which one would you be buying? Would you buy it? You have to pick a Gen X car.
See, I need the Civic.
Is the Civic on it for Gen X? Oh, it is down at the Civic.
The Civic, and then because I can get a Type R.
I think it doesn't give you trims. Oh yeah, you know what? Civic.
That's a good point.
Get the Type R. I don't need a truck.
Corolla, isn't
Yeah.
there like a GR Corolla? Aren't there fancy fun Corollas?
Oh yeah, did they have the Corolla on here?
Corolla.
No, well, they have the regular Corolla. I don't know if they count the GR.
You know what? I'm saying they count the GR Corolla. Never mind. I'm getting the GR Corolla.
Yeah, I was like, I'm looking, wait, Corolla's on there.
The GR Corolla is the funnest car you can drive.
Yeah, okay,
right now.
GR Corolla. So Robbie and I will
If you don't care about safety or living,
no
the GR Corolla is the best.
funsies.
I think I would take the the Type R, you know, because when my wife experienced at least the Morizo edition of the GR Corolla, she was not thrilled.
It's not for driving around. It's for driving around.
When you're married, you're like,
You got to put the horns up while
But
you're
she would be fine with a Type R.
Okay.
Yeah, Type R is a lot more. It's nearly as fun, but a lot better for driving around. The GR Corolla is that's the car I could buy because I already have an electric car. So
There you go. See, this would be
my BRZ. It would replace the BRZ.
the burrs.
My bros.
Your burrs.
Anyway, good job, Gen X. GR Corolla.
Yeah,
Look at the boomers. Their third car is the GR Corolla.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, because they're the ones that can afford to pay the ridiculous markups on them.
Right.
That's true. They're so expensive. I'm gonna look up a GR Corolla right now.
For now, Robbie's car shopping.
Well,
I looked up. I was at the dealership the other day to drop off our Kona. Say goodbye to the Kona, everybody.
Like
Bye,
And
Kona.
they had the Ioniq 5N there, and it was a $4,000 markup, which was
actually
boo, but also not as bad as I thought.
Yeah. All right. So, have either of you two ever seen? I'm sure you've seen cars that where people have replaced the badges on them. Like I've seen, basic, BMW 320i's with M badges on them.
Yep.
I've seen, base V6 Mustangs with GT badges on them. And this happens sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So I was scrolling through threads the other day, and somebody posted a picture of what they called a Tesla. What do I call it? A Mazda S or a Tesla Model 6?
Oh,
so
that's Sky Active.
It was a Model S
the Sky Tesla
with Mazda badges on the back and a Sky Active G badge on the tailgate.
I love that someone really. It's not even just the Mazda badge. They're like, I'm going to get Sky Active.
It looks good.
Yeah,
like the placement of it, like they put Mazda across, like they got a little like a carbon fiber, like right above the the little trim level.
Yeah.
And
you at first glance,
they worked hard.
Cool Mazda.
To make sure that people wouldn't know they owned a Tesla. They're probably like, nah, I'm sick of this. I don't need grief.
Life. I don't want anyone to give me a hard time. So now I'm driving my.
I think it's more the
Tesla
Elon life. Or they love Mazdas and they're like, you know what, any electric car. Maybe they got this on a deal and they're like, I wish it was a Mazda.
Put Mazda on the badge and pretend.
Yeah, they're like, oh, this is a sweet Mazda.
Yeah.
Someone give this person a high five.
Yeah.
All we know is they live in
Seattle.
Or at least they bought the car in Seattle. High fives. High five for Mazda, for the Mazda S.
Yes.
Yeah.
With Sky Active.
Sky Active.
Oh, okay. Well, they didn't put a tailpipe on it though. That would have.
A big tailpipe. That would have been the finishing touch. Yeah.
On the back. All right. Actually, you know what would have been fun if it was a Model S Plaid, and they had Mazda speed badges on it.
Oh, zoom.
Oh.
Yeah.
Zoom. That was great.
Okay. Back to Volvo. They right after launching the EX90 a couple of weeks ago, this week they unveiled the refreshed 2025 XC90, which was supposed to be replaced by the EX90. What do you think of the updated XC90?
I think it looks great. I'm glad that they still have they didn't just say, oh, we're just going EV and all EV. I think it looks better. I think it's going to do well for them. I think it needed an update.
Yeah, I like what they did with the grill.
Yeah, I like the grill.
It's a good looking car.
But if like someone didn't tell you this was the new XC90, you would just be like, oh yeah, it's an XC90.
Well,
Like they didn't make a lot of changes to it.
but I
Yeah, I
think
mean,
it's
in
kind of
profile, it
Volvo.
looks the same.
Yeah.
They do little tiny changes. They're like Volvo.
Little tiny Swedish changes.
Yeah,
Like,
they're
hey, we don't
never
want to make a big deal about this,
right.
but we
They're never dramatic in your face. They're always kind of low key. We've low key changed our vehicle.
hey, how you doing? You doing all right? Okay, cool. Hey,
Yeah.
like I don't want to make a big deal about this, but we just updated it.
We
Hey,
just
it's cool.
updated it.
It's cool. If you want to write about it, cool. If you don't, it's fine.
If you want, that's fine. That's fine. Just
That's
carry on.
It's fine.
I think
Here's an ABBA CD. Thank you.
The grill is actually one of the coolest part. That the crisscrossy wave thing. What are they? Do they have a name for that? They must have a name for it.
I'm sure they do. I haven't seen what they're calling it.
I'm going to
but
look and see if I can find it.
It's kind of
Does it feel
almost like a
it should have
weave.
name?
Oh yeah.
I'm going to read. Okay, keep talking. I'm going to read about it and see if they
All
say grill is.
So I think one of the issues with the XC90 before, which wasn't a huge issue, but I think these days people might have been getting a little tired of it. The screen, the center touchscreen was only 9 inches, so it's a little on the small side by modern standards. So they've basically within looks like within the same space, they've kind of grown it out and expanded the screen. So it's like if you look around the side images, it looks like it's socketed into the same space as the old 9-inch screen, but now you have a 12.5-inch screen, which is considerably larger. And it's got the same updated interface for the Android Automotive infotainment system that they have on the EX90. So you get the same interface as the EX90, but on a bigger screen now. So I think that's an improvement too.
They don't have a name for that grill. How is that possible? They call it Thor's hammer, the lights on either side, but they're
not going to make a big deal about it. Come on.
That's right.
It's like, hey, shh.
It's going to somehow be just casually mentioned in the middle of another press release.
A couple spent 15 years working on this grill in their hut out in the forest.
Yeah.
And then we bought it from them.
Producing this woven grill to match the weave on the chair that was in his grandmother's kitchen.
Exactly. It's named after blah, 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 blah.
All right. Earlier this year, there was a couple of fatal accidents that happened with drivers using Ford Blue Crews. And they're both currently being investigated by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. One of these crashes took place near Philadelphia. And last week, the woman who was in the car, in the Mach-E, was charged with 2 counts of vehicular homicide because she was quite drunk. And when you're using Blue Cruise or any of these other systems, you're supposed to be paying attention and ready to take control at any time. And if the car is not doing what it's supposed to do, then you're supposed to take the wheel and put your hands back on the wheel and steer it and avoid obstacles. Well, in this case, there was a car that was broken down on the side of the road, and I think there was a police officer. Was it a police officer? That was stopped to help. The Mach-E ran into the cars on the side of the road and killed both people.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. The driver of the Mach-E was intoxicated, and like I said, she's facing multiple charges, including homicide by vehicle while driving under the influence and involuntary manslaughter. So this is not good. Like we said before, these are not self-driving systems. Doesn't matter if it's a Tesla, a Ford, GM, anybody else. None of these are self-driving systems.
You can't buy a self-driving car. There's nothing you can buy.
Even if it's badged as self-driving,
you can't buy a self-driving car.
Correct. Which the problem with that is that the driver was drunk. So even if they understood that and they're drunken, they probably didn't.
Well, it's fun because and when I say fun, I mean horrid, that the defense lawyer is saying that the car is a self-driving car. It's a failure in the self-driving or driving system. That's not how it works. No one at Ford is telling you it's a self-driving car, buddy.
Yeah.
So you're really grasping at straws.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, he's a self-driving or a driving system. Huh.
Yeah. So the defense attorney's trying to blame Blue Cruise.
It is,
And certainly,
it says it may not be a homicide by DUI even if the driver's intoxicated, but you're not allowed. It doesn't matter what kind of car you have. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
DUI is illegal. Like, it doesn't matter how good your car is or what it is, you can't do that. There's no, if you have Blue Cruise, you can drive drunk. That's not in any law anywhere.
No. You are supposed to be alert and in control of the vehicle at all times.
All times.
Yeah.
So, pay attention, when you're in your car. Keep your eyes on the road. Preferably keep your hands on the wheel.
Like, what do you do with your hands? I still don't know what I'm supposed to do with my hands in these.
I was driving with
Blue Cruise and Super Cruise, and you're just like, you put it on your lap, you're like, I'm just gonna put them on the wheel because I feel more comfortable on the wheel.
Yeah, I was in Buicks this week, and I was driving and had the Super Cruise, and I'm like, I struggle to just leave them on my lap. Do I cross my arms across my chest and I look like I'm an angry driver?
Put them on your head.
Yeah, if you put them on your lap, you just feel weird just with your hands sitting on top of each thigh, like you're at attention or something. Like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I end up just putting them on the steering wheel mostly, and also I don't trust robots to be. Yeah,
it's scary,
and that's fair. You shouldn't trust robots.
Shouldn't trust robots. If we learn anything from Terminator and Terminator 2,
don't trust the robot.
Yeah. Dun 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 dun.
All right. If you still have a car that has Takata airbags in it, and you've gotten recall notices from the manufacturer, actually Ford recently sent out a notice to owners of Ford and Lincoln vehicles with Takata airbags in them, that if you haven't brought your car in to have the airbag inflators replaced yet, stop driving the car.
Wow.
Yeah. They just had the 28th death in the U.S. caused by an exploding Takata airbag inflator that spewed out shrapnel.
Weirdly, though, it says the 28th in the United States, the driver was killed in 2018. So they must have just officially
figured it out.
Figured this out, that it was officially as a result of the airbag inflators or something.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the accident reports, they don't necessarily have all the details in them.
Yeah.
So they've been going back and investigating all of these and trying to find all these instances.
I just read further down. It was a 2004 Honda Civic involved in a high-speed crash, which complicated efforts to definitively determine the cause of death. Probably because the vehicle was in bad shape. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have an older car with airbags, and if you have received a recall notice, actually this applies to any vehicle. If you get a recall notice, contact your dealer as soon as possible, because manufacturers don't just do recalls for nothing, because it costs them a lot of money.
That's the thing. If they're going to take the time to officially initiate a recall, there are so many processes behind that. And the expense of just doing the recall, forget the expense of whatever they need to do to fix it. Just notifying everyone, filing all the right things. It's an effort. So if they've taken the time and effort to do that, you would best believe that whatever it is serious enough that they think you should bring your car in to get it fixed.
And to be fair, though, in this case, with the Takata airbags, because there were so many cars, I think there was something like 90 million cars that were recalled, just in the U.S. And manufacturers had to find replacement. They had to source inflators from other suppliers other than Takata, because they couldn't get ones from Takata that were certified to be safe. And so they were going to other companies like Autoliv and TRW, trying to get replacement inflators. And so for a long time, many of these cars that were recalled, actually, they sent out the recall notices, but you couldn't actually bring them in to get fixed because they did not have the parts for them for, in some cases, several years.
Well, and then they prioritized, because it depended, like there were so many things that influenced this recall. The humidity of where you lived, and they were starting to prioritize, like, as they came in, we're gonna do the vehicles that are most likely to have the problem. All of you have this defective inflator. you guys in this group are more likely to have, so let's fix yours first when you come in. So they were trying to prioritize the sort of the ones most in need as they were getting ramped up with that. It was a big deal. It was a big deal.
Because I know,
Yeah.
a 2008 Ford Fusion that I had bought for one of my kids. We got that, and we got that recall notice. I want to say like 2013 or 14. And it was a couple of years before they were actually able to get that inflator replaced,
which is a scary thought.
But they, at this point they have inflators, I think, for just about everything. So, if you have ever gotten a recall notice for the airbag inflators, get your car in and get that done as soon as possible. Because if these
you can also, if like you're not sure, like you bought an old car, you have a car, you don't know, you can get that. Like there's this thing called the Safer Car app that NHTSA puts out, and you can put your car in there, and it'll tell you like what recalls are available for your vehicle.
Yep.
It uses your VIN number, so it's not just the year; it's the actual VIN number. So they can say, "Oh, wait, hey man, you should go get that airbag taken care of."
And as much as people are like loath to go to dealerships at times, they can also pull it. And they can put your VIN in and they can tell you, hey, generally you have these two of the recalls. These two are outstanding. So if you're ever really concerned, like, did I do that? Did I fix that? I think I did. I don't know if I did. Your dealer can tell you whether or not they can pull it and see what service has been done to your vehicle.
Yeah. And if you go to nhtsa.com .gov, nhtsa.gov, right on the front page, right there, it says check for recalls. And you can put in your license plate number or your VIN from your vehicle, and it will tell you if there are any open recalls on your vehicle. And if there are, contact your local dealer and get them taken care of, because there's no cost to you. If it's a safety recall, you will not get charged for that. The manufacturer pays for that. So it's just the only thing is that the inconvenience of actually having to take your car in.
Right. Or you get shrapnel in the face in this case.
And you definitely don't want that.
Yeah.
You don't want shrapnel in the face.
No. It never works out well.
Okay. AAA driving cost survey. So the folks at AAA, every year they do a big driving cost survey. And let's see. Let me find the right link here. And this year they had some interesting results. So they break it down. They break down the data in a bunch of different ways. They look at different vehicle segments. So this year they had small sedans, medium sedans, subcompact SUVs, compact SUVs, medium SUVs, mid-size pickups, half-ton crew cab pickups, hybrids, and electric vehicles, and then a 2024 sales weighted average. And so they look at all the things that make up your cost of driving, the purchase price, the fuel, maintenance, ownership costs, things like the insurance, registration and taxes, depreciation, finance charges, and they calculate your cost per mile, your cost per year, your cost per day, your all your operating costs, and the let's see, this year, if you're driving a small sedan, the total cost per mile to drive a small sedan was 51.7 cents per mile, $10,344 per year to drive a car.
10 grand. All right. For a small sedan, though.
Yeah. Half-ton pickup, $18,559 a year, 92.8 cents a mile.
Yeah.
Yeah. And EVs, $13,830 a year, 69.2 cents per mile.
Interesting.
So it's interesting as I was looking at it, because I'm always curious about so their insurance rate is like way higher than what I pay for insurance for my electric car. And I think that's because most electric cars on the road are Teslas, and Teslas are very expensive to insure. So I was like, why was this insurance rate? So I'm like, oh yeah. Cause then I went and looked at my insurance. I'm like, that's what I pay for 3 cars.
Oh yeah, that is a high rate. The rate that they give for full coverage insurance for an EV is $2,059 a year. I'd assume that's yearly 20.
Versus
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
mid-size pickup is like 15 and then 16 and then like I'm more in line with like the mid-size pickup. But with all my cars, it's like that. So now you know how much I pay for insurance. Yeah. So
yeah,
I'm very excited about like how that got skewed by Tesla's because of gigacasting, kids.
Yeah. They also took, they broke it out. They took medium sedan, compact SUV, medium SUV, and pickup truck, and they did a comparison for each one of those segments for electric, gas, and hybrid. And in most cases, the hybrid was by a pretty wide margin the cheapest to operate. Like for the medium sedan, $12,527 for the electric, which in case of medium sedans, that's going to be mostly Tesla Model 3s. That's the main one that falls into that segment. For a gas equivalent, 10,557, and for a hybrid, 9,476.
They're so high.
The insurance was one of the big things there. $2,053 for the electric, $1,583 for the gas, and $1,545 for the hybrid. The other thing to keep in mind too, Robbie, I think California actually has some of the cheaper insurance premiums than a lot of other states. Like states like Michigan actually have some of the highest insurance rates in the country. So,
but there's more cars sold in California than Michigan, and most of those cars are still Teslas.
True.
Yeah, we're the number one market in America, USA. Or I guess I just yelled California. It's hard to sing California.
That's not why
that doesn't even roll off the tongue.
For the medium SUVs, it was fairly close to even between electric, gas, and hybrid, around a little less than $12,600. And pickup trucks, electric pickup trucks, definitely the cheapest, followed by hybrids, and then gas pickups were the most expensive.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even with a $2,100 insurance cost. Sheesh.
I just Googled a random thing, and Michigan keeps coming up, Sam, as some of the most expensive insurance rates in the country.
Yeah.
What did you do? What did you do, Michigan? It's probably because the cars keep getting rattled apart by your horrible road.
I know, yeah.
It's absolutely horrible road.
Actually,
every time I'm like, these roads are kind of like Michigan. I'll be driving around somewhere in California where like the roads haven't been taken care of. I'm like, it's like Michigan. Then I'll go to Michigan. I'm like, never mind.
This thing says that Detroit, Michigan is the most expensive city for car insurance at $5,300 a year as an average.
Oof.
Oh my God.
But Jesus. And then New York City is second at $4,700. That's from the Zebra, whatever the heck that is. This is my random Googling. So,
when like from where I am here, it's about 40 miles south to Toledo, to the Ohio border.
Uh-huh.
And if you drive south on I-75 or US 23 towards Ohio, you can if you close your eyes and when you're in the passenger seat, only do this in the passenger seat. Don't do it in the driver's seat. If you're riding in the passenger seat of a car heading towards Ohio, close your eyes, and I guarantee you will be able to tell precisely the moment when you cross over from Michigan into Ohio, because the difference in the road noise and the thumping,
I believe
when you go from the highways in Michigan into Ohio is just unbelievable. It's crazy. But yeah, Michigan roads will do a number on your wheels and tires and suspension and other stuff.
Wheels, tires, suspension, jaw, kidneys, spine,
kidneys, everything, all your parts,
bladders.
All right. A couple weeks ago, I went to Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma,
and not a place I ever expected to find myself, but turns out that is the home of the Cox Automotive Battery Operations Center. We've talked about Cox before. Cox is a huge company that's into all kinds of stuff. They're into media and They have a cable business, and Cox Automotive does a whole bunch of things, mostly stuff with dealers, and they do dealer management systems. So I can't remember if we talked about this, the ransomware attack on CDK. CDK is like number one in dealer management systems. Cox is number two. But one of the other things that Cox does is, they own Manheim Auctions. So when you trade in a car to buy another car, more often than not, sometimes the dealers will keep it and they'll clean it up and put it on their lot to sell it. More often than not, it gets sent to auction, and dealers will then bid on them to buy them, for their used car lots. One of the other things that Cox owns, back in 2021, they bought a company called Spears New Technologies based in Oklahoma City. And Spears was into battery recycling, EV battery recycling, hybrid battery recycling, but also remanufacturing, refurbishing, testing. And one of the reasons why Cox wanted Spears was some of the work that they were doing on developing battery health tests, EV battery health tests. Because, one of the challenges with EVs is they have very high depreciation because people don't know what the condition of the battery is when they buy a used EV. And so the prices are much lower than they probably should be in most cases.
Which is a great deal for you, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh no, the depreciation on EVs. I'm like, go buy an EV now.
You don't want to buy a $50,000. You don't want to pay $50,000 for an Ioniq 5 or a Kia EV6. Go buy a used one for half that. A 2-year-old one with less than 20,000 miles for half that price.
We didn't hit our mileage on our Kona. We weren't even close, to be honest, because we just drive it around as a regular old car. And whoever's going to get that car is going to get like a sweet, like the battery's like zero degradation, like nothing. It was like,
so anyway, Spears, the folks at Spears developed battery health test system that's being implemented at Manheim Auctions. So, Manheim already does a vehicle health report. They do full inspections on the cars and they provide a health report before it goes across the auction block. So dealers, when they're bidding on these, they know what they're getting. And so now they're getting battery health reports as well. But the Battery Operations Center in Oklahoma, one of among the things that they're doing, like I said, they're doing recycling of batteries. So if a battery is at its end of life and is ready to be scrapped, they take it apart, they shred it, so they put the battery modules through literally like a just enormous paper shredder, and then they break it all down and they process it and get the black matter, which is all of the active material, and then they sell that to battery manufacturers, that then reprocess that to build new batteries from it. But the other thing that they're doing at this facility is, all the testing of these batteries. So they've got deals with several OEMs and with the dealers. So when batteries get taken out of not just EVs, but also hybrids and plug-in hybrids, they will many times get sent to this facility, and they get thoroughly tested. And if there's just, if there's like one or two bad modules or something like that, they'll pull them out, they'll replace them, they'll remanufacture them, and then they will put them in their inventory. And when a dealer needs a battery to do a replacement on a vehicle that's in service, they can call up and they'll ship out batteries, remanufactured batteries, to put back into cars. And while they, when we were there, they declined to talk specifically about which companies they work with. Walking around, you could see the labels on the battery packs from all kinds of different hybrid and plug-in hybrid vehicles and EVs. And, this facility handled the refurbishment of batteries from an automaker that did a huge battery recall a couple of years ago.
Who could that have been?
Don't know.
It definitely. It probably started. I mean, some sort of motors that are generalized. They give you like a general idea of who the motor company is.
All of the batteries that came out of those EVs got shipped to Oklahoma City. They got tested, where any modules that had cells that were defective got pulled out, replaced with new modules with new cells in them, and they got sealed back up, tested, and then sent back out to dealers to put back into other cars that had batteries removed. And that process took about 1.5 years, I think, to do all of those batteries. And now they're handling a recall for another major automaker that earlier this year announced a battery recall. And they're processing those right now. So it's a real interesting facility, and they've got a couple of other. The reason why it's in Oklahoma is because it's kind of in the center of the country, and they can, it's kind of equidistant from everything. But they are doing they're doing 3 more facilities. One in Atlanta, one in Michigan, and one in Nevada. So they're going to have more of these facilities where they can do the remanufacturing and refurbishment of battery packs, and then get them ready to put back into cars as service parts.
Cool.
Yeah.
Does the train go through Oklahoma?
I believe there are trains that go through Oklahoma. Yeah.
There you go. That's all you need. Choo choo.
Yeah.
Choo choo. Choo choo.
Choo choo.
All right. Are you guys familiar with the BYD Shark?
It's got a really cool name, to be honest.
Isn't that the
It's
little?
way better than the seagull.
Oh my God, the seagull! The shark's gonna eat the seagull.
Well, the shark's got to get out of the water to get the seagull first.
Well, it can just leap like a whale. Grab it. That's my theory.
Well, the Shark is a mid-sized pickup truck
We
made
can
by
laugh.
BYD.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of Tacoma Ranger sized. And it earlier this year went on sale in Mexico. It's a plug-in hybrid. So BYD also makes extended range EVs. This is not quite an extended range EV because it's more of a plug-in hybrid, because the battery or the engine, there's a 1.5 liter turbocharged engine that is hooked up to the front drive unit, the front transmission and electric drive unit. So it can the engine can send some power to the front wheels. And then there's an electric motor on the rear wheels. And then in between the frame rails, there is a battery that I'm trying to remember the size of it here, but it's an LFP battery. It's the BYD Blade cell battery.
Mm-hmm.
And they use cell to chassis packaging, because LFP batteries are so stable and safe and resistant to thermal runaway. They're able to pack a lot more of these things into a battery pack without having to put them into modules. They can just stuff them all into a box and then put it in between the frame rails. And I'm trying to remember the size of the. I think it's like a 28 kilowatt hour battery pack, and this thing is claimed to get about. They claim a little over 100 kilometers, so about 60 miles of electric range. That's on the Chinese test cycle, so it's probably closer to about 35, 40 miles of electric range. But with the engine in the front, it can go into hybrid mode. They claim, 0 to 60 in about 5.7 seconds, 430 horsepower total, 40% reduction in 40% cut in fuel consumption compared to a gas engine truck of similar size. Our friend Andre Smirnov from TFL Truck had a chance to drive one recently, and I'll post a link to the video, the TFL Truck video, in the show notes. These things are not available for sale in the U.S., but there's somebody in Texas who has one. Apparently went down to Mexico and bought one. $47,000. So it's about the same price as a decently equipped Tacoma or Ranger. And this thing is really nice inside.
It does look good. I've seen.
It does look
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't help
So
it.
you have to to have it in tech. So I looked this up because I have family in Mexico, so I could buy a car in Mexico and then just bring it up here. It has to be registered somewhere in Mexico. So you need to have some sort of friend or family member
You
that
need
you
to
can
know a
register.
guy.
You need to know a guy who's totally fine with you registering it at their address and possibly in their name. I don't know about the naming thing. Because my mom's from Mexico, I could become a Mexican national. So I guess I could probably do it down there and then use a family's address. But I think you're fine if you don't want to get as long as the police don't feel like hassling you.
Yeah.
Like you just drive it around. Like how often are the police going to hassle you? They're like, hey,
Yeah.
you know, I've seen that truck.
We'll see who wins in November.
That's true.
That might go up a lot.
Yeah, that's true. So it depends on where you live, and yeah,
and of course this one is in Texas, so in Texas you'll probably get hassled a lot.
Yeah, but you're also right there in Mexico. I mean,
Yeah.
It's right there. It's down the street. I mean, Texas is huge, actually. Who knows what part of Texas they're in?
Yeah,
but yeah.
But this one has the same swiveling center display that they have in the Seal. So you can have it if you like it in portrait mode. You can have it in portrait mode, or if you prefer it in landscape mode, you can do that too.
I like the old Fisker that went
fancy. So yeah, BYD Shark. Maybe you can go rent one. Go down to Mexico, rent a Shark.
There you go.
If you drive a car to Mexico or really any country, be sure to get insurance as soon as you get there. Like just short-term insurance, because your insurance company won't cover you if you get in an accident in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Little fact.
U.S. insurance companies won't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what the other, I don't know what Canadians or Mexican insurance companies do, but I know U.S. insurance companies will not. I remember going down there with my uncle and we had to pull over like immediately in Tijuana, and he bought some insurance for his car.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, if you go into Canada, you don't have to do that.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Your U.S. insurance will cover you in Canada, just not in Mexico.
All right. I don't know if I trust U.S. insurance in Canada, but sure.
Well, I'm not sure I trust U.S. insurance in the U.S. most of the time.
Boom. There you go. There's the whoop. There it is.
All right. On Friday, Acura had a briefing here in Detroit, and they brought the concept that should have been called the ZDX that they showed at Monterey Car Week. They brought that to Detroit, and Dave Merrick, who's he was the head of Acura Design. He recently got a new title of executive advisor. So he's basically overseeing, I think, all of global design for Honda.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And also Michael Fischer, who is the project lead for Honda's EV hub in Ohio. We're both there, and they both talked a bit. And Michael had some interesting stuff to say about the EV hub. So the EV hub is they announced a year and a half or so ago, maybe 2 years ago now, that they were going to be retooling their assembly plants in central Ohio near Columbus, in Marysville and East Liberty, to build EVs starting in 2025. And they also announced a joint venture battery plant with LG. And they're also doing some work at their Anna Ohio engine plant, all to help them build EVs starting next year. And unlike the Prologue and the ZDX that are on sale now, based on GM's Ultium platform, these are on an all-new Honda EV platform. And one of the things Michael talked about the Marysville plant. Previously, they had 2 assembly lines in Marysville. They've reconfigured those now, consolidated them down into one assembly line. They've refined a lot of the processes, so it takes up less space to build a car now. And then they added in, they used the extra space that they made available for sub-assembly lines for motors and for the battery packs and a bunch of other stuff. that they'll then be feeding into the line. And so now this one reconfigured line will be capable of producing gas-powered Hondas, hybrid Hondas, and battery electric Hondas and Acuras all on the same line.
Cool.
Yeah. And in the Anna engine plant, they recently added 6 4,000-ton high-pressure die casting machines, aluminum die casting machines. And they are doing large-scale castings. But unlike Tesla, they're not using these to replace stamped steel parts in the structure. They are doing castings for the battery case. So the battery case is a large-scale aluminum casting.
Yay! All right.
Yeah.
I'd always get I understand why automakers do the giga casting essentially, because it saves money, but it also, that's how you get those $2,200 insurance premiums.
Yep.
Yeah. So the battery pack will be one big aluminum box. So that'll cut costs there and make it easier to assemble that. But then the rest of it, the rest of the car is going to be made in a more traditional fashion. And I had a chance to sit down with Michael Fischer and chat with him about what they're doing there. And so I'm going to drop that in here, and we'll be right back.
All right. So, Mike, during your presentation earlier, you talked about the changes being made as part of the establishment of the EV hub in Ohio. One of the interesting things that you mentioned was in Marysville, for example, currently, or maybe not currently, there were 2 assembly lines there at the Marysville plant. They've been consolidated down to 1. And can you elaborate a little bit more on what's being done there? You talked a little bit about shortening the stations and compressing everything down, but give me a little more detail on that.
Yeah, so one of the things we did from the very beginning, and I talked about this today, is about flexibility, right? So from a manufacturing flexibility, you have the opportunity for us to build petrol, hybrid, and BEV. So fundamentally, the first mission for us from day one is, do we have the capability to do that? And as we talked about it, if you step back and you think about BEV manufacturing, fundamentally it's very similar based on the body structure content. You're still stamping components, you're still welding bodies together, you're still painting, you're still assembling.
So things like the body shop, paint shop are pretty fundamentally the same.
Absolutely. So from the initial concept of, can we really do this in the same line and optimize our investment and leveraging for our gen line? Okay, let's think about this more deeply. And then when we talked about the unique processes like the drive unit sub-processes, the drive unit installation, the thermal management system, the IPU, the power unit, building and installation. Okay, you're talking about like a half dozen unique, like super unique areas that fundamentally, okay, they have this pot. So as we looked at that, the main challenge is then how do you align all of the products to say all of your basic monuments that we're going to be able to install these in the appropriate sequence so we can get into an environment where it's consistent for associates. When I put this water bottle in, whether it's hybrid or ICE or EV, to simplify the manufacture. Now, of course, there's going to be unique areas in that line, but those monuments are unique and exclusive. And as we studied it, you get into a scenario where it becomes, this is really doable. And then to talk about the Marysville 2 lines to 1, the big thing for us with that was the concept of fixing your main line and those monuments being consistent across, except for those unique areas. All of the sublines I talked about that are dealing with the variation,
feeding in those subsystems like the battery,
absolutely,
or the drivetrain.
That takes space so that you can, those were the things where you absorb variation for spec differences, volume differences, or whatever. And so the approach that we took with Marysville, based on the requirements, was then to create that space for the sub areas, as well as additional logistics areas and all of that. And then also utilize, I talked about a little bit today about the resource circulation, and even in the concept of what we're talking about in Marysville, you're reusing a facility as opposed to other manufacturing companies, I'm going to build a brand new facility. So we're reutilizing and optimizing our investment position. So the IPU subassembly area, we are utilizing an old consolidation center that was repurposed from our original paint line that was there at Marysville many years ago when Marysville Auto Plant started. And we also utilized our line 2 paint for the second step of our IPU sub for the mid and large SUVs. So for us, ultimately, it optimized our investment position, and it allowed us to create that flexibility on one line to be able to build all 3 of those. And that was our mission from the very beginning. Can we do this? We got to a point very quickly where, this is doable, and we're well on our way to realizing it.
So with this one final assembly line, is that continue to be a traditional transfer line, or have you also transitioned towards automated guided vehicles, as we're seeing in a lot of other
so let's talk about Marysville. So in general, it's a normal to trade the carrier and all of that. And the main challenge for in facilities, existing facilities, obviously BEV vehicles are quite heavy, just because you have the battery and all of that. So working on the facility to make sure the carrier structure, building structure, all that kind of stuff. But fundamentally, for Marysville Auto Plant, it's the same fundamental concept,
same basic all this production process.
At the end of the day, that transfer logic is very efficient from a manufacturing operation, so why change that? I'll challenge the stuff that maybe our old habits, characteristics, but that one is a tried and true thing, and based on the monuments that we're able to establish and set across those 3 varying model applications, it makes sense, and I think we can realize that with the traditional logic.
So you also mentioned that you're installing 6 mega casting machines, high pressure die cast machines in the Anna engine plant. And based on what you described of what's going on with the assembly process at Marysville, I think you mentioned that you're using those mega castings for the main box for the battery pack, or IPU as you're referring to it. So I presume that means that at least for the foreseeable future, you're not planning on using large scale castings as part of the body structure, the body and white structure, as some other manufacturers are doing.
So I think for us, for Gen 1, it's doing 2 things. Whether you're talking about the IPU assembly process or the die casting with the mega casting for the case, it's doing 2 things. One is based on the body structure that we're utilizing. And again, it's that resource circulation thing. It's an existing structure, optimize the investment that you have and utilize some of these key areas as your step 1 validation to say, does this translate well, not only for flexible manufacturing, but does it translate well in the next generation as you think about that? So the IPU case is a good scenario for us, that we're doing this as first step based on our body structure that we have, but it's also building the knowledge for that next step of some of the other things that you were referring to with other body components. Okay, does this make good sense for the next generation from a cost performance, from a vehicle performance, from a safety performance, and all of that. So there's not just step 1, but how are we proving out things for the future? And the same thing is with the IPU sub-assembly area of this business model for how to do this, not only scaling it for existing facilities, but unique future facilities as well.
So the new battery plant, the joint venture battery plant with LG,
yes,
that is, I guess it sounds like that's the only really fundamentally new facility that you've added in the Ohio complex.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And that's so they're going to produce cells, and they're also going to assemble the modules there and then ship those over to
yes, they'll
Marysville.
Yeah, they'll ship those to Marysville. We will provide the power units to Marysville Auto Plant and then also to East Liberty. So the cases will come from Anna, come to Marysville, and then the modules will come from LG into Marysville. Marysville will do the IPU assembly, and then supply both the Marysville and East Liberty for their product requirements.
So right now, you've only begun the conversion of Marysville, right? Not the East Liberty plant, or are you doing both?
Both
simultaneously.
Simultaneously.
Okay.
Simultaneously. So our EV hub is comprised of four things: 1, Marysville; 2, East Liberty; 3, Anna; and then 4, the LG. Those are the major things in the EV hub as far as transformation of a big manufacturing operations beyond our supply base.
So is the cell plant, is that going to be online at the same time as start of production of the vehicles?
Absolutely.
Okay, so mid 2025 timeframe, later
late 2025.
Okay.
Launch. Yeah.
Okay, and then as you mentioned, the Acura that's based on what we've seen here from the concept, that'll be the first product produced, first BEV produced by Honda Motor Company in Ohio.
Correct.
And then the others.
Super excited about that.
Yeah. So, it sounds like one of the interesting things about what you've described is that you've built the flexibility into the manufacturing process, as opposed to, for example, BMW. They've launched a whole bunch of EVs, but they've devised flexible vehicle architectures that can support ICE, hybrid, BEV, plug-in hybrid, from using the same body in white structure. But it sounds like you're not doing that. There's similarities.
There's a lot of similarity with it.
Yeah.
I can't speak specifically to what BMW's core strategy is, but there's a lot of similarities with it, because when you're talking about the platform that we're talking about with whether it's sedans or mid SUVs or large SUVs, obviously there's distinct difference about that construction. And as we move even into the EV with this Gen 1, you try to utilize as much as you can with the understanding that you saw the image today that the mid floor is your main skeleton structure for mounting the IPU. That is the unique difference that you have fundamentally. And then it goes back to the manufacturing process. All the top hat of all the basic body in white structure up from there is virtually similar, other than what you need to do from a rigidity and structure perspective.
Yeah, I was just going to say we got probably enough time for one more question. Okay, I guess one last one. The IPU, is that going to form is that actually going to form the floor of the body, or is there a separate floor panel?
There's a separate
floor
panel, and then there's a separate external cage around it as well. So, and then the power unit mounts up below the floor.
Okay. And one last thing. Overall capacity, is that going to remain similar between Marysville and East Liberty to what the production capacity you have today? Yeah. But just with one more different powertrain.
Absolutely. Just with the understanding that there's a level of flexibility that you have based on being able to go in any of those three lanes based on what the market and customer base is.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mike.
Thanks for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right, we're back, and we've got a couple of listener questions. We have another voice question. We got a voice recording from Andy from Australia, and I'm going to play that right now.
G'day, Wheel Bearings crew. This is Andy down in Melbourne, Australia. Just got a question for the group and then a bonus question for Robbie. So first up, fuel consumption figures. I gather you guys get the data from the car's onboard computer rather than calculating it the old-fashioned way. And I guess my question is, how are these figures arrived at by the onboard computers, and how accurate are they? And then bonus question for Robbie, does your Ioniq 5 have a rear wiper? I recently rented a Kia EV6 in the rain, and I found not having a rear wiper to be a total pain, and I figured it was a deal breaker for me. Just thought you might have a comment on that. Anywho, keep up the good work. See ya.
Okay, the fact that he said good day, I don't know whether that was serious or is he just fulfilling our Australian stereotype, but that was awesome.
Either way, it was great. Thanks for that, Andy. Robbie, you want to answer his Ioniq 5 question?
So I have a 2024. It was built in 2023. It does not have a rear wiper. The new refreshed versions, the 2025 model year, which are being built in America, starting this year.
And in Korea.
In Korea, those will have a rear windshield wiper. I remember when we brought this up when the car came out. They're like, "Oh no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine." It's not. It
wasn't.
I haven't driven the car in the rain yet, but I know it's not going to be fine. So, yeah. So no, the current right now cars do not have a rear wiper, but the rear wiper is coming in with the refresh. So if you decide to get one, make sure you get a model year 2025.
Yeah. So in a lot of parts of the world, they already have the updated ones. Because those are built in Korea. So in Europe and I would assume in Australia, they probably already have the updated ones, both the EV6 and the Ioniq 5 with a rear wiper.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be getting those in a couple of months here in the U.S.
Yeah. So. Bummer town for Robbie is what I'm trying to tell you.
Bummer town.
But, it might be working out for you though.
And then on the fuel consumption, most of the time, I don't know about YouTube, but most of the time I just use the figures from the trip computer in the car.
Same.
Once in a while, I do actually put gas in there and measure it and calculate it. And it's usually within about a mile per gallon or so. Some cars are off by a little more than that, but it's close enough for the most part. The way that they calculate that is the engine management system knows how much fuel is going into the engine because it knows how long the fuel injectors are open for. They know what the flow rate of those fuel injectors is. So they have a pretty accurate measurement of exactly how much fuel is going in on every single cycle of that engine into every single cylinder. And they basically just add that up and then divide by the number of miles or divide the number of miles by the amount of fuel that's used. So it's actually pretty straightforward. You couldn't do that back in the old days with carburetors. But with fuel injection, modern fuel injected engines, you can calculate that pretty accurately.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's close. It's not perfect, but it's close.
Yeah.
Good enough is what we're saying.
Yes.
Is it great? Good enough.
Good enough for our needs.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, we can tell when a car is getting terrible fuel consumption. When you get a big truck that's getting 12 miles per gallon, you know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not by a smidge, but it's always
you and your pocketbook know it.
Yeah, you're like that's not good mileage. That's good. That's
I've only gone 30 miles.
$125 to fill this tank. Come on.
Oh.
All right. We also had a question from Vic from Ontario. Vic asks, other than making it go faster, what is the purpose of the red stripe at 12 o'clock on sports car steering wheels these days?
There's no purpose. It just makes it go faster.
I see them now on current sports cars like Corvettes, Cadillac, CTSV, GR Corolla, Mercedes AMG, BMW M, etc. I've been driving for decades and don't remember ever having to look at the steering wheel to know which way I'm pointing the car. And yes, that is driving rear-wheel drive cars, doing donuts and drifting and other stupid things. Just seems like a visual distraction to me. Possibly there could be some track rally purpose to this, but not sure I buy it. Also, only 1% of these car owners would ever take it to the track, and they would in turn only take it there 1% of the time, thereby adding a feature that is only useful for 0.1% of the time. Thanks for the show. Keep up the good work.
Your analysis of those percents in the end, I think, is actually spot on.
Might even be slightly optimistic.
Yeah, I think you're being a little optimistic for some of these folks.
And that's what it technically is. It's technically for racing, right? So you don't have to look, you know that the red, you've got your car facing forward again because the red is. So I don't think it serves any genuine purpose for us other than looking cool and making the car go faster.
I think the first place, probably saw that was on rally cars.
Yeah.
Rally cars are constantly counter steering.
Right.
The drivers want to know, where the, they want to know at a glance, where straight ahead is with the wheels.
Yeah. Because you're turning right, but your wheels turned left. Wait, you're turning? No. Yeah. And so you're like, wait, when am I dead center? When am I dead center again? So you don't accidentally come out of a drift and then just go launching into a ditch because you didn't have a dead center set up.
So for 99.9% of us, 99.8% of the time, in 99.7% of situations, figure that math out. That red little stripe doesn't do anything for us.
No, but it looks cool.
But it looks amazing.
Cool. Yeah.
And it does make the car go faster, doesn't it?
It does. Anytime you add any stripe to a car, it makes it go faster. That's just how physics works.
It cuts at least 2 seconds off your lap time.
It does. It's like putting a loud. It's like when you put that loud exhaust on your car. It gives it 1.3 extra horsepower. You're like, yeah.
All right. Anything else for this week, guys?
I don't have anything else. That's about it for me.
No, I feel like I did something cool, but I can't remember.
It'll come to him later.
Yeah. Right after he hit stop recording.
Right.
Yeah, after he hit, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just drove a car over.
All right. We'll talk to you all next week. Bye.
Bye.
All you homeowners have unique needs. Some feel the need to paint their door a vibrant shade of blue. Others have the need to decorate their bathroom with fish, anchors, and other nautical items. And because each homeowner has unique needs, Geico helps you get the right coverage for your home and what's in it. That way, you get exactly what's right for you, even if your needs are unique. Get more with Geico.